Welcome to another installment of the Yakima Symphony Orchestra's Stories from Home, a series of interviews presented by Valley Mall and available at ysomusic.org. My name is Lawrence Golan, and I am the Helen N. Jewett Music Director of the Yakima Symphony Orchestra, coming to you from my home in Denver, Colorado. And today I'm chatting with our principal oboist, Brent Hages, coming to us from his home in Seattle, Washington. Hello, Brent. How are you holding up?
I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain.
Well, that's good. A lot of people can complain.
Exactly.
And as I mentioned, you're in your home in Seattle. It looks like there's some really interesting photos and paintings behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
So one thing that I particularly enjoy and like is the history of my teachers and their careers and people that they have worked with. So you can see some album covers on the wall that are of my teachers. My teacher is actually on the cover of it. And the conductor of one of his chamber orchestras that my teacher was in is in this painting back here. And it was done by a Philadelphia artist of Ancho Brusiloff, the famous violinist and conductor. And I happened to find it on eBay for $50. So it was a no-brainer for wall art for my oboe room.
Oh, it looks very good, I have to say. Great. So, how long have you been performing with the Yakima Symphony Orchestra?
I was trying to come up with a date in my head because it gets a little bit muddled after a few years. I believe it's somewhere around 2007. That's what number comes to my mind. We'd have to ask Mary to go into archives and
Right.
see if she can dig back that far.
Well, it's about 13 years. I guess this is your lucky year then. Yeah, thanks for that, Brent. And in those 13 years, is there a particular concert or a particular piece that is the most memorable for you?
There have been a couple, and I don't want to take too much time, but there are a couple I need to mention. One was recently we did the Mozart-Hofner Symphony. That's another piece that one of my teachers recorded with the Cleveland Orchestra and George Zell in 1959. Another one was the Orkney Wedding. That same teacher is the oboist who became the principal oboist of the Boston Symphony, and he got to give the world premiere and the world premiere recording of that piece. Mm-hmm. So being able to perform a piece like that really is not done too much is, it was quite an experience to be on stage and to play that piece of music that I have such a personal connection to.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Speaking of the Mozart-Hofner Symphony, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that our performance of that you're referring to it can be found on YouTube.
Yes, it can.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So if any of our viewers want to check out what Brent Hages, one of his most memorable performances with the Yakima Symphony is, you can find that on YouTube. Just search for Mozart Hofner Symphony, Yakima Symphony Orchestra. Now, looking forward to next season, hopefully next season will happen as planned. And if it does, is there some piece or some concert that you're most looking forward to?
I know there's been a little bit of tweaking to the season, but is Beethoven 5 still on the docket?
Yes, that is still on the docket. Mm-hmm.
I probably have to say that one because, first of all, it was the very first piece I ever performed with a full orchestra. And number two, it was the very first piece I performed as principal oboe with the Yakima Symphony. And third, it's just a beautiful piece. The opening is very cliche. It's used in every TV commercial, ringtone, but the entire symphony, it showcases everything that a symphony orchestra can do to the highest level, and each section, each instrument, it's just a really, really beautiful piece of music from the first to last note.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Every time I do it or hear it, I think, of course, it's the most famous symphony of all time. And you know what? There's a reason it is. It's just, as you said, it's just beautiful from beginning to end. And the parts that, everybody knows the first four notes, ba 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 bum. But for those people who only know those first four notes, you're really going to enjoy the rest of it.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute masterpiece. And that concert you're referring to, Brett, is our big gala celebration concert with the famous violinist Joshua Bell. So on that same concert with Beethoven Symphony Number 5, we're going to be playing the Bruch Violin Concerto with Joshua Bell as soloist. So I think that's going to go down as a memorable concert for everyone, really.
Certainly.
Yeah. We all know about your beautiful oboe playing, but is there some interesting fact about you or interest that you have that maybe we don't all know about that you might want to share with us?
I'm really rather boring. In terms of just this whole pandemic we've been dealing with, I'm really a homebody at heart. So to be told to stay at home, watch TV, sleep, this isn't a challenge here. It's actually, it's accepted.
That's great.
But no, again, going back to like the recording, the album covers on the wall, I love history of things and people, and going into old record stores, CD stores, vintage shops, I always find things that, just I have to have, or I'm happy to find. There's, again, really nothing too terribly exciting. Just the history of things is just a very interesting thread I found throughout my life.
Well, I think that's great to hear, actually, that this quarantine situation suits you just fine. I mean, I have to admit, it's definitely not my cup of tea. I mean, I love just traveling and performing concerts all over the place. That said, I'm spending so much time with my family and in our house, and we have I never knew before. We have a pretty nice house. I like it. I like it. And Denver's a nice place to be. So,
no, I agree. I miss my family. I miss friends. I miss colleagues. But considering what so many people are going through, I consider myself lucky and don't mind shutting myself in for a while the world heals itself and figures everything out. I'm fortunate that I can do that in this point.
That's great. Would you mind playing something for us?
Sure. So the last thing that was on my stand before everything was canceled was Scheherazade. So rather than dig through music and put a whole lot of thought into it, I just thought I would play what was right there in front of me this whole time. And I believe we are still doing this concert next season, correct?
Not next season, but the following one.
Okay.
And just because, when everything got canceled, this next season was already set. And, everybody booked and everything. But we will plan to do Scheherazade, that whole concert, in the 21-22 season.
Okay, excellent.
So this is a preview of 21-22.
Okay.
Well, that should give people something to look forward to for a couple of years from now. Well, Brent Hages, Principal Oboist of the Yakima Symphony Orchestra, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for including me.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.